Now I'm joined by Inspector Sheridon Hill, and we are going to get the TTPS updates, and we're going to speak about warrants today. But before we jump into that, we have a couple topics that Inspector Sheridon Hill would like to share with us.
Good morning, Khary.
Good
morning, Trinidad and Tobago, and thank you for having me. Today we're going to talk about warrants. It's an interesting topic. I don't want to say controversial, interesting. But before I get into that, I just want to make a few points related to some previous topics that we discussed.
Right.
One of them is when we spoke about the powers of arrest of a police officer, I wanted to educate the public, enlighten them that refusing to assist a police officer who is being assaulted or who is being resisted is an offense, and they can be arrested for that. So the public, you have a duty to assist a police officer who's in distress. Additionally, when we spoke about accidents, we talk about a duty to render aid.
Right.
And I don't want to leave the public with the impression that aid is limited to medical assistance and so on. It could be as simple as making a telephone call, staying with a person, making an important contact, contacting the police, contacting the health services and so on. And the other issue is, and that we're getting to today, is confusing search warrants with arrest warrants. Okay. So today we're talking about warrants, and there are many types of warrants. You have the first instance warrant, you have search warrant, you have the time allowed commitment warrant, you also have the maintenance and affiliation warrant, you have distress and ejectment warrant, among the more popular ones.
Right.
But today we'll limit the discussion to first instance, search warrant, and if we have the chance, we'll talk a little bit about the maintenance. And the affiliation warrant.
All right, because the warrant, as you said, you don't want to call it a controversial topic, but we did have an issue recently with an artist who came here, and people asking questions such as, how did they get a warrant on the weekend, and how this and that and the other. So it would be nice to have some of that cleared up today as we go through the topics.
Yeah. But you can get a warrant at any time.
Right.
You can go to a justice of the peace and get a warrant. However, the execution of the warrant, the timing of the execution of the warrant depends on the type of warrant that you have. So the more popular warrants, the first instance warrant, which is a warrant of arrest, that warrant can be executed at any time. And the warrant is addressed to all police constables, meaning all police officers.
Right.
So for all ranks. So the officer who is executing, who is effecting the arrest, does not need to have the warrant in his or her possession.
Okay.
Right. So now people confuse that with a search warrant. With a search warrant, you must have the warrant in your possession. So let's get back to the first instance warrant.
Right.
So the warrant is issued to all constables. So anybody can execute.
Anybody is qualified to execute.
Execute the warrant. That warrant can be executed anytime. If the officer does not have the warrant in his or her possession, as soon as practicable afterwards, you need to get the warrant and read it. Read the warrant to the person who is arrested.
Right.
Of course, the person must be told of the offense, and they must be cautioned and so on. So that is the first instance warrant. And that is not to be confused with the power of a police officer to arrest someone who has committed an offense without a warrant.
Right.
Right.
So say, for instance, somebody was caught in the middle of a carjacking,
Exactly.
for instance.
You don't need a warrant.
You don't need a warrant
for that. And any offense, I think I mentioned that before, any offense committed in the presence, in the view of a police officer, he has a power of arrest. So in a nutshell, that's the first instance warrant. Then you have the search warrant.
Right.
So the search warrant, again, can be executed anytime. You go to the Justice of the Peace, and you can get a search warrant at 3 o'clock in the morning. And sometimes we need to do that, depending on the nature of the offense we're investigating.
And the type of individual.
Not so much the individual, but the type of evidence that you're looking for.
Right.
Right. So that warrant can be executed anytime. The officer must have the warrant in his possession.
So in the case where an officer wants to execute a search warrant and he does not have the search warrant in possession at the point in time.
Well, he should not be executing.
Then
he can't execute the warrant if he does not have the warrant in his possession.
So, but in a case like that, if they so happen to do something like that, would the person then be within their rights to say, I do not consent to a search?
All right. So there's a search, and then there is a search warrant. So police officers are mandated to conduct searches of persons who they have arrested. And you don't need to have a search warrant for that. Once you have arrested someone, part of the whole process of identifying yourself, if you're in plain clothes, informing the individual of the offense committed, cautioning the individual, what you see on TV that we refer to as reading them their rights, and they must be searched.
Right.
They must be searched. Now that is different from the execution of a search warrant. If you're executing a search warrant, you must have the warrant in your possession. You show the warrant to the occupiers of the premises, and then you execute it. Now, you execute the warrant. Now, the warrant, as well as with the first instance warrant, the warrant gives police officers the authority to use force if necessary. So if the officers are at a residence, an address, and they are going to execute a search warrant, and the occupiers of that address refuse, the officers are authorized to use force. Similarly, if you're going to execute an arrest warrant, you are authorized to use force.